Hello everyone, my name is Carl, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily implement my new platform toolkit into your project and start using it without any delays. Cool, so the first thing you'll notice when you add the pack to your project is you'll have this platformer tools folder, and inside the blueprints folder you'll find all the blueprints that are included in the pack. So the first thing that you need to do is know that the blueprints don't use simulated physics, and that is by design, and that allows you to get very fine control over the exact way that the player will interact with the different objects. And the way I have things set up now is you can very easily and precisely set how fast things will move and the way stuff interacts with your player. And because of that, you just need to add a little tag to your player character. So if you go to your character that you use in your game, just click on class defaults and search for tag, TAG, and then look for actor. You need to add an actor tag. Just click on the little plus button there and type player. And that's it. Now your player can interact with all the blueprints. Cool. So let's go back to our blueprints folder. And the first thing you want to add to your level is this setup blueprint. Let's just drag that in. And this will be hidden in the game. You won't see it. It won't affect any of the interactions or anything. It's just to set up the level and easily make changes to all the blueprints at once. The first thing you'll see is in this situation, I'd like to have my game set up to view it from this angle, basically. If you're making a 3D platformer where you can turn around and everything, then this isn't really necessary to know. But if you're making something like a side-scrolling 2D or a side-scrolling 2.5D game, or even a game like Inside or Little Nightmares where you can move in 3D space, but the camera is always pointing from the same direction, basically. A nice thing to do is to click on your setup blueprint and then set the world right direction. So currently it's at Y minus. Let's set it to Y positive. And now you can see it's facing the right direction. And that'll allow you to easily align all the objects without having to rotate each one separately. Cool. So let's look at the first one, the floating platform. If you bring it in, you'll see you're seeing the back of the platform now. And if you click on Align with World Direction, it's now aligned with this world direction. And if we change the rotation, then the other blueprints in the level will change as well. So let's set that back to Y positive. There we go. And because we set our player tag, our player can now jump on the platform and the platform will go down. You'll see there's this little green transparent version of the platform as well. That shows how far the platform will dip. And you can adjust that with a dip amount. Let's set that to go below the floor. I'm going to show you something real quick. These platforms are designed to stop when they hit an object as well. So if you jump on it now, it'll go down and this will happen. And that's because the floor is not generating overlap events. And this is looking for an overlap event to determine whether or not it should stop when passing through something. So let's click on our floor, just search for overlap, and just make sure that generate overlap events is enabled. And now this should be perfect. Cool. I like to set it up precisely so that my the dip amount is exactly where I want it to stop anyway. But it's nice to have as a fallback in case there's some object underneath your platform, then it won't move through that object as long as the object has overlap events generating. So let's do that for this block as well. Overlap. There we go. It should stop when it hits that block. There we go. Cool. So if you've got something that's moving around the level, then make sure that that's generating overlap events and it'll stop the platforms when they go down. And that is relevant to all the other blueprints that we have in the game or in the system as well. Cool. So let's go through these other settings quickly. Okay, we've got speed. That's just how fast the platform dips. You can play around with that until you find a speed that works well and that feels nice to you for your specific situation. then you'll see we have a look tab, and that is that has specific settings for each blueprint, and then also some common settings that I'll go through now as well. So for this specific blueprint with the dipping platform, we've got add balloon. If you disable that, then the rope and the balloon goes away. We can enable that back. We can change the color of the accent of the balloon to suit the look of your level more. You can adjust the rope length, the rope thickness if you want, and then also the balloon size. So if you want to have a larger balloon or a smaller balloon, you can do that in that way. Let's just reset these things. You can also resize the whole platform, and then everything will scale in relation to everything else, and everything should still work perfectly as well. Cool. Then we have copy look from master. So you'll see we have a style setting here, and I've got two styles preset or pre-made with the system. I've got this hand-painted wood and metal style, and then I also have a simple style that is just like usually a cube or a block with these accent lines basically that you can make the same colors as well if you want. So if you want a simple color, you can adjust that. You can adjust the glow of the lines, and if you're using global illumination, you get some nice global illumination from the emissive material as well. Cool. And then you can adjust the metallic value and the roughness value as well. A cool thing about this setup blueprint that we have, you can select the style in there as well, and you can play around with that until you have something that you like. Let's do something like this. And turn the metallic up, and then turn the line glow brightness to 10 or so. Cool. And then we can click on apply look to all. Let me show you quickly. If you add a few different objects to our scene, you can go into each one and then say copy look from master, and it'll copy the look from your master, the settings from there. Or you can click on the master setup blueprint and just click apply look to all, and then everything will change. And now all of that is set up to get the style and the look from the master. So if we change this to hand painted, now everything in the level changes as well, and that makes it easy to make adjustments without having to go through and change all of the different objects to suit or to fit with each other again. So if you want to make that green now, you can just change it to green, take the metallic down to 0 and make that darker maybe, and now it changes with all the objects basically. So that's an easy way to get that done. Cool. So let's just delete these. Okay. So apply look to all. Yeah, the rest of the look settings are the same, and so everything there is covered. Cool. So here we can, if you've copied this and you want to make some minor changes, I'm going to remove the balloon quickly. Let's say we want this one to be a different color, but we want the glow and everything, so we can apply this look to everything, to all of them, and then we can go in and just disable copy look from master, and we can make this one red if you want to make that one red for some reason, or pink or whatever. Cool. Cool. Then we have a custom mesh setting that we can change the mesh if you want to use your own mesh for a platform. I'm going to use this jump pad just for an example. See, that changes, and the preview mesh changes as well. Now if you jump on it now, you'll see nothing happens, and that is because the overlap that checks this little wireframe boxes, they check for the player on top of the platform, and the bottom one checks for any obstructions below the platform. And if your mesh is a bit thicker than the default one, then these ones, the overlap boxes won't overlap your player when they land on top of the platform. So to fix that, you can adjust the overlap scale and the X, Y, and Z scale over here. What I like to do firstly is just enable scale uniform, and then just adjust the X value so that we have a nice fitting scale for that. And then just disable that and just turn up the Z so that it's slightly above the platform. And you can just test that. And there we go. Now it works perfectly again. Cool. So you can use your own platforms. If you've got some other cool platforms that you bought in the marketplace or got for free on the marketplace, you can easily substitute them in as a custom mesh over here. Cool. And that is it for the dipping platform. Let's go to the next one quickly. Jump pad. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a jump pad where if you step on it, boink, it jumps into there. And you'll see there's a little animation that plays on the mesh. If you turn that down, you'll be able to see that better, or if your camera is a bit more zoomed out. Boink. Boink. Cool. So let's turn that back. I'm just going to adjust this boom to make it a bit further away. Cool. There we go. Cool. That just gives us a little bit nicer view of what's actually going on around us. Okay, so let's look at the settings. You can adjust the jump velocity. You can make that a bit smaller or higher. And you can just play around with that until you're happy. I'm just going to put that, let's put it at 1000. Cool. Again, we have copy look from master. And it instantly copies the look from the master. If you disable that, you can change the look and the colors, obviously, and the glow brightness of your blueprints. Cool. And then again, we have a custom mesh. Let's use this little cube. Let's see if that works. Boing, 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 boing. Cool. As you can see, it disables the collision for the mesh, so the player will drop through until it reaches the overlap wireframe box. You can also adjust that, as I showed you in the previous one, to fit your specific shape a bit more. So if we wanted to bounce the player as soon as they touch the box, you can make that a bit larger to go up to the top. Cool. So you can use anything here. We can use a platform as well. Platform, simple, low. Cool. Let's just reset this. There we go. Now this will be our jump pad. So you can turn anything into a jump pad by using this blueprint. And you'll see it'll disable the frame as soon as you add a custom mesh. It'll disable this frame mesh as well. So if you want to add a different frame around your jump pad or something, you can just add that as a mesh in your stage or as a mesh in the blueprint as well. Cool. So let's look at the next one, moving platform. You'll see there's another little transparent green one that shows you this platform. Let me just show you what it is. Basically, it's basically a little elevator type blueprint. As soon as you step on it, let's make that a bit quicker. Movement time. This one uses movement time. So that's how in seconds, how long it'll take, how many seconds it'll take to move to the end. So let's set that to 1 second. And there we go. Distance, that just adjusts the distance that it'll move. And then we have start direction. We can go up or down. Now it'll move down. We can go left and right as well. And if you don't align it with world direction, you can obviously rotate it to go in any direction that you want. Cool. So let's put that on back to up. Then we have a movement mode, currently set to move to end with player on platform. And that's basically the way an elevator will work in a game usually. It'll go up and then as you get off, it'll go back down again in case you fall off the elevator. So we can also set it to move continuously. If you want a moving platform like this that you often get in platform games that goes up or down or left and right, you can have that move like that as well. Cool. And that is it for the setup. Look is the same. You can copy the look from master. You can make all the same adjustments, and the custom mesh, you can use any mesh as well. Again, if you want to use this movement mode where the player needs to be on the thing again, just make sure again, like we did with the other one, that the overlap is large enough. So turn up the Z value. Oops, scale uniform is on, then you can only adjust the X. So just turn off scale uniform, you can turn up the Z value, and now it should move when the player is on the platform. Cool. There we go. So that's it for this one. Let's look at the next one. It's basically the same idea, except you have a spline that the object will follow, the platform will follow. So if you click on that little spline point, you can move the spline, and you can see how the platform will move. And if you hold on Alt on your keyboard and you click and drag, it'll make a new spline point that you can move wherever you want. And you can move this in 3D space as well. It doesn't just have to be on a single plane. So we can do this, have it move that way and then that way. So if we look at it now, it goes that way and then it moves that way. And it's set to continuous move, so it'll move back and forth now. Cool. Movement time again, you can set in seconds how long it should take to move from the beginning to the end. The start location, this one you can set where it should start. And then you can set it to either move to end with the player on the platform or move continuously. And then movement interpolation, we've got smooth or linear. Linear or smooth will have it accelerate from a slower velocity, go faster, and then decelerate as it gets to the end. If you set it to linear, then it'll almost bounce off the end, as you can see there. It'll always move at the same rate. So if that's something that you prefer, you can do that as well. Smooth. Then you can make the tangents sharp so that they are sharp lines from spline point to spline point. Or you can click on make tangents round again, and it'll make it more of a smooth curve basically. And you can also, if you messed up the spline, you can click on reset spline and it'll go back to the beginning. If you accidentally click that, just hit Control Z to undo and it'll go back to where you had it basically. Cool. Look, we've got the same thing as the previous one. You can copy the look from master, and we have a custom mesh setting as well, so we can use our trusty old jump pad again if you want, or obviously if you have a cooler platform that you want to use. Cool. And if you want to change the scale of your platform, you can always just adjust the scale of the whole thing to make, let's say your mesh is very large, you can turn it down a bit or scale it down a bit, and then just adjust the overlaps to suit or to fit the shape and size of your mesh as well. Cool. Now we've got this one as a bit of an interesting one. It's two crates where if you jump on the one, you can probably assume what's going to happen. The one will go down and the other one will go up. And that'll allow you to do something where you have to get up, up, up. And if you've got a bunch of these crates that kind of go down and up and down, that'll be a nice little challenge for the player. Cool. So again, we can, a cool thing about this, it's actually, these points are on a spline as well. So you can move that around and just position it in whatever way you want. If the end stop is below a floor that generates overlap events, it should stop when it gets to the floor as well. So it won't move through solid objects that generate overlap events, as you can see there. Cool. And currently it's set to, the balance is set to equal weight. If you set that to left heavier, you'll see the left one will go down. And if you set that to right heavier, surprise, surprise, the right one will go down. Cool. So I like to, for now, put that on equal weight. You can set the rope length, and that's how long the ropes are. And you can also set the buffer amount. So if you want long ropes, but you don't want the boxes to move quite as far at the total length of the rope, you can set the buffer amount, and that'll just allow the box to move between those end stops, basically. Current offset, you can set where you want them to start. Movement speed, we've got two movement speeds. One is movement speed stepped on, and one is movement speed return. So movement speed stepped on, if you want to make that go down faster when you step on a box. Let's do that quickly. If you're editing the spline, you won't see the settings over here. So just make sure that you either click on the main blueprint again, and you'll see the settings, or you can just click off and click on again, and it'll show you the settings again. So let's adjust the rope length a little bit, make that buffer a bit smaller. Cool. Let's say we want, let's say we want the left one to go down. So now it goes down at that speed. And if we jump on this box, if I can actually get there. So you'll see it goes down fairly quickly, and then it goes back up slower. So you can adjust that. The return speed, we can make that really slow. Let's make it 0.2. Let's make the down speed 5. So now it's going up very slowly. If I jump on it, it'll go down quickly, and then go up very slowly again. And if you want that to have some doors attached to that maybe, or something, where you can jump on one end and have the other crate cover a doorway where you need to pass through, you can always do something like that. So let's say we wanted to do that. We can do a current offset. Let's put that one down all the way. Let's put this one over here. Oops, sorry about that. Let's do that. And we can place this one right at the back. So now if you get there, you won't be able to go through. Then you have to find this crate on the other location. It'll lift up, and then you have to go through the door before the crate goes down again. Cool. And as you can see, the pulleys auto rotate to make the everything look and work well with the location of the crates. Cool. I think that's all the setup settings. Let's look at the look. You can add ropes, or you can disable them completely, and you'll just have two crates in the air, basically, where you can, they'll still interact the same, but you won't see the ropes and the pulleys and stuff. You can adjust the thickness of the rope if you want it to have that a bit thicker for some reason. Copy look from master. Now we have this simple, I don't know what to call it, Tron or steampunk or something type of look. But they all function the same. And you can have the settings copy from the setup thing as well by using the copy look from master. Yeah, like we said. Cool. We have custom meshes as well. So let's say you wanted to use some other custom mesh that you have. You want to have if you had a different box, or you can even use platforms and then just disable the use ropes if that looks a bit weird. Then you'll have platforms in different locations, and you'll see, oh, that one goes down, and then you have to go back and get on the other one or whatever. Cool. So you can use custom meshes, and just remember to set up the overlap scale. In this case, we can probably turn down the Z because we have a flat platform now, just to make sure that it's just above and just below your actual platform mesh. Cool. And I think that's it for this one. One-way platform. You'll see that a lot in older games where you can be below a platform, and if you jump up, the player will pass through the platform. Cool. The player will pass through the platform and you'll be able to land on top of the platform. So the cool thing about that is you can have a few of them on top of one another. Boink, boink. There we go. Cool. For this one as well, you can set whether or not you want the platform to flip when jumping through. If you disable that, the player will just jump through the platform and land on top. There we go. Add frame. You can add or remove the frame if you want it or not want it. Copy look from the master again. It's the same as the other ones. For the custom mesh, let's use our jump pad again. And just remember to adjust the Z value in this case a little bit. You can always just test it, and if it doesn't work, you can adjust the Z values. So you can also have your mesh flip if you want it to flip still. And that's it for this one. Very handy little blueprint to have. Cool, this is a platform on Spline. It's almost the same as the previous one that we had, except you can control whether it goes forward or backwards by where you stand on the platform. So let's have a quick look. If we stand on the back of the platform, it won't go anywhere, but if we stand on this side, it'll tip forward and go in that direction. And if we stand on the other side, it'll go to the other direction again. And you can have this stretch the whole length of the level almost, basically, and just adjust the time to make it faster or slower. This one is set to when you fall off, it'll just stop. And then when you get back on, it'll carry on depending on where you stand, basically. Cool. So we have movement time, which is in seconds, how long it should take to get from to go from the beginning to the end. Then we have start location. You can have it start in any location on the spline. Movement interpolation, we've got smooth and linear again. That's just how fast it should accelerate at the end and the beginning, and vice versa. Dismounted mode. You can have it stop. That's the default mode. If you get off the platform, it'll stop where it is. You can also have that move to start. So if it's something that you have to, a challenging thing, and you have to duck stuff and so on, if you fall off, it'll go back to the start and you can try again. And then the same as well, you can just have it move to the end if you fall off, and you can always have it start on that side. So if you go this side now, it'll start over here. We can move it to the beginning, and if you fall off, it'll go back to the end. Cool. Okie dokie. Make tangents round. You can make the curve round or sharp to have the points be sharp points like that. Make it round again, and then you can always reset the spline as well. Here we go. Look, the same settings as the other ones. You can copy the look from the master. We've got a custom mesh again, and you can use a little jump pad or anything that you have over there, and then just make sure to adjust the Z scale again for that as well, if your platform doesn't work. Cool. Then we have this little thing. It's a platform that spins, and you can jump on it, and you can have a few of them on top of one another, maybe even. Maybe something like this. We have to go up and up and up. And the cool thing is you can adjust the gap that you have, the gap angle. Let's make that 90 for all of them, maybe 90, 90, 90. And I'm going to set this one to go counterclockwise, the rotation. So let's see what that does now. I have to jump on this one. I have to wait for that one. and jump. Oops, I missed it. There we go. And jump. There we go. Cool. So you can make stuff like this, or you can turn everything on this side. Cool. And now let's say you have a platform game that goes like, or side scroller that goes like this. You have to wait for the gap, and you can adjust the speed and the gap and everything as well. And you can make some manual adjustments to the rotation where it'll start, so that you have a nice flow through the level basically. Cool. So now we have 3 of these, and instead of clicking copy look from master for all of them, I can just click on our setup and say apply look to all. Then we have apply and look to all. Cool. So I showed you can use you can set the angle, you can change the direction, and you can also change the speed. So let's make this middle one 10. Now I can see that one moves a bit faster than the other ones. Cool. Because of how the mesh setup works for this one, I don't have a specific custom mesh setting that you can apply to this, because you'll have to use basically a quarter round mesh like I have here. So if you want to edit this to use a different mesh or anything, you can do that by editing the blueprint. One of the easy ways will be just to set all of these meshes, set them to be hidden in game, and then just add another mesh that you want to use. If you just want something to rotate, basically, you can just set a mesh there. Cool. We've got our seesaw auto moving. Okay, so the auto moving seesaw will move from side to side, whether or not the player is on it. Go up and down, move to the one side, and then move to the other side. And you can set the speed. Let's make that a bit faster. Now it moves a bit faster. You can set the angle that it'll move. If you want it to move at a more extreme angle, you can do that as well. And then you can set the start location to be left or right. If you ever wonder what any of these settings does, you can just hover over them. I've added some comments to all of them to explain what the specific setting does and how it works. Cool. Add axle mount. That's this little thing at the back there. If you want that or you don't want that, you can add that. Copy look from master. Everything changes according to the look of the master, basically. Then we have custom mesh. Let's just see what meshes we have that may be useful for this. Let's try something like this. Cool. Now we have something else that moves back and forth like this. Cool. And this, because this just moves on its own, we don't have overlap checks or anything to see whether the player is on the beam. Cool. So the next one we have is kind of the same, except it's a tipping seesaw. So this one almost feels like it's simulating physics, but it is not. It's all calculated depending on where the player is on the beam. And that just makes it much more reliable, because using something like this and using simulated physics, it tends to freak out when certain things happen. This beam should also stop when it hits a object, as long as the object generates overlap events again. So we set this one, as you can see now, it stopped when it bumped into the block over there. And then if you go on this side, it'll go down further. You can also set the maximum tipping angle. Let's set that to 45. And again, it won't move through objects that generate overlap events, but on this side, it'll go down much further now. There we go. And that's quite useful when you have, you need to like dip down the one side to lift up the other side to get up a higher jump or something like that. Cool. Start angle, you can adjust where it should start as well. If you want it to start like that, it'll stay like that until your player jumps onto it. Cool. Then we've got add axle mount again, this little axle mount box. You can add that or disable that. Copy the look from master. If you don't do that, you can obviously set your style to whatever you want. Let's use this quickly. Let's use our tipping platform mesh again. This one. So let's do that. Just make sure that you adjust the, in this case, the Y value, I think, Y scale. There we go. And also the X scale so that they encompass the whole area of your mesh. Cool. I think there's one more left. Cool. Yeah, tipping platform. This one is kind of similar to the tipping platform or the seesaw. This is the tipping platform, except this one tips around a lower axis, basically. And depending on how far you move to the side, it'll tip more. And as you move back to the middle, it'll go back to the center. Cool. And you can also add an axle mount or remove that. And all of the copy look from master settings and stuff like that is the same. Custom mesh. Let's see if we use the beam. Wooden beam. Cool. Let's just have a quick look at what happens if we don't adjust the... see, they thought we were off the platform because our overlap boxes didn't extend the full extent of the mesh, as you can see there. Cool. So to fix that, we can just go down, extend that, make that a bit narrow on X, and that should be fine. Cool. Let's have a quick look. It's obviously going to look a bit strange now because there's no pillar that it's moving on top of. But if you have a different mesh, you can either combine meshes to make your own meshes that can work for this. Or if you want to use a giant leaf or something that bends from one side as you move to the edge, that can work as well. Cool. So you have the ability to change the mesh for this as well. Okie dokie. And that is it for the blueprints that are included in this pack. If you want to see some examples of how I use these in a level, basically, you can go on in the Platformer Tools folder. There's a demo folder, and there are maps, and there's a map character. I'm just not going to save this. Cool. In this one, we used a character pawn to show how that works. It's the same as the one that we just set up, basically. And we've got a few different implementations of how we could use this. So for instance, this is a nice way where you couldn't go down this hole because the crate was in the way. But if you jump on this side, it opens up the hole, and then you can go down the hole. And then we've got these rotating platforms and a whole bunch of other different examples, basically. The system works with a character pawn like this, and it also works with a physics pawn. So if your character is a physics object that is moved about by physics forces, that works as well with these. Just remember to add the player tag to the actor tag called player to your player, as I showed you earlier. There we go. And then it works well. The cool thing about adding the tag is, let's say we wanted to add a physics object and you wanted your physics object to interact with your objects as well. Let's set this to simulate physics. Simulate physics. There we go. Let's just simulate. As you can see, it doesn't interact with the jump pad now. And that is because firstly it needs to generate overlap events. Generate overlap events. There we go. And then also it needs a tag. Remember, it needs to be an actor tag. And we're going to call that player. It won't think it's a player or anything. It just tells the blueprints that this is something that can interact with the blueprints. So if we simulate this now, boink, it'll start bouncing your box. And now it'll work with all the other blueprints as well. So if we drop it on top of this elevator one, it should go up. There we go. And if we move it off, elevator goes down again. Sweet. Cool. So that is it. I think that covers everything, I hope. Awesome. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have an awesome day.